keeping you up to date with the latest in Texas Tech sports. This is the Ask Level podcast, brought to you by Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome into episode number 12 of the Ask Level podcast alongside Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman.
That's a dozen.
That is a dozen.
I'm
Not if you're a baker, though.
I was about to say, Woodman, I'm used to operating with like when it comes to like cookies or donuts or cupcakes and all that. They just like throw in the one extra, right?
You got a little pep in your step today. It seems like something good must have happened on Saturday.
Well, yeah. I mean, I always try to operate a little with a little pep in the old step, but yeah, winning is better. Winning is better than losing, man. You had lost two in a row, and you'd lost 4 or 5. I think that, you know, when you take the field versus Kansas, we had touched on this in last week's episode. It's not must win, but boy, it's really close when you're trying to get to the ultimate goal of just trying to get to a bowl game and all that. And now you've given yourself 2 chances. You're 500 after 10 games, and you've got 2 chances to try to get that done, and even have a chance to obviously go to get to 7 wins and even 8 wins if you were to win out and then go win your bowl game. So I tell you, before we get into this, there's so many storylines in this game versus Kansas that you could get into. Some good, some bad, some unfortunate. But my takeaway, from a feel good standpoint, as I walk out of that stadium last night and we're walking to the car, is that I really wished we could have seen Tyler Shough all season long in some ways, because this was the savvy veteran, smooth, tough, playmaker at quarterback that checked to runs, checked out of runs, checked you into different things, took care of the football, was your leading rusher. I thought he delivered the ball accurately and had a little zip on it, which it's taken a while to get that back. But that's the guy that we all saw in August and even through a quarter in September, that you'd love to know what that looked like. And I think Barron is absolutely the future. There's no doubt about that. But I just thought that's a game that Tyler Shough just went and won for you in many ways. He, and then the running game helped. He was a big part of that, and individually and all that. But that's I just wanted to make sure that, because to me that was the big thing, was Tyler Shough from a positive standpoint.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you look at Shough's performance, that was the biggest question mark heading into the game, right? What are you going to look like offensively? What are you going to look like at quarterback? Because that was not the same Shough we saw come in relief duty in the TCU game. He seemed more polished, I don't know if it's just preparation of going with the ones all week or what it was, but he definitely looked like the Tyler Shough we had heard everything about coming into the season.
Well, and you're on the radio crew with us, and you are in charge of putting some of that sound together that I go get every week. And you heard what he said.
Yeah.
When we talked to him last week, I mean, you have 9 months to prepare for the season, and you're in shape, you're sharp, you're, all the things. And you try to stay mentally engaged when you're out for 7 to 8 weeks. But physically, it's hard because you can't go throw, and it's muscle memory, it's accuracy, it's timing, it's chemistry, it's all that stuff. And so I just think you kind of seen a bit of an increase each week, and it looks better and better and better, because this is what, he's kind of having training camp all over again, and trying to work his way back into being sharp and all those things. And so you're right. I mean, I thought TCU looked better than his Baylor performance, certainly. And this one looks, I don't know if he's all the way back, but boy, it's close, because I just like the way he played and managed and the game, because he made plays, and he did what we've been asking these quarterbacks to do. There's sometimes when there's plays that aren't there, He makes them anyway. He throws guys open. He's getting out of trouble and moving the chains and with his legs, all this stuff. And this is just how you're going to have to get it done, because this is how you're built.
Yeah. Were you surprised to see him run as much as he did, and some design, some his own doing there?
Not at all. I just think that's who he is. That's what this offense is. And do you hold your breath? Do you want him to be smart about it? 1,000%. But you can't be a quarterback in this league and just be a sitting duck back there.
True.
It's just that's not how the position is played anymore. And you've got to have an aspect of that. And I think that, if you run him on purpose, you just want him to be smart about it. And you've tried to coach him on that and get down. But he's a tough kid. And I think that he's, it's like you even watch these, the Patrick Mahomeses, the Josh Allens, the guys like that at the highest level, and they're franchise guys, and their franchise has zero chance, and it's hard to tell them not to go get those extra 2 yards.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's just who some of these guys are. But at some point, you just have to be prudent about it and be smart and all those things. But no, I thought it was it was fun to watch him play and operate and do his thing, because I know he's been dying to help and put himself in a good spot for his future too.
That's the good from last night. The bad, you do give up a lot of rushing yards to Kansas. Does that bring you concern after this game, or was it just you got to give credit where credit's due to Bean and Neal?
Well, a little bit of both, Choice. I think it does concern you, but this is what – you have to tip the cap. This is what they've done to everybody. I mean, they are one of the best rushing offenses, certainly in the Big 12. I think 22 rushing touchdowns going into that game. It's gaudy, and they major in the chunk plays.
Oh, my goodness.
This is what they do. And they've got, I think you see it, but they've got some guys with some speed and juice, man. And, the 1/4 and inches play that goes to the tight end, that's not one of those guys. They just kind of catch you with your eyes in the backfield, and then they scheme that one open. But, I think Devin Neal could play for a lot of folks. I think Jason Bean's speed is as good as anybody's.
Yeah.
Really, and when I say anybody, I mean anybody playing college football, because he is fast. He's quick. Now he kind of makes some mistakes, and he'll throw it to you on occasion, and kind of, and but I just thought that some of their skill, it's impressive, and they've got some speed, and they're good enough to where if you make a mistake, look out, because they're good enough to burn you and take it. Because to your point, Choice, a 63-yard run, a 43-yard run. You also had a 60-yard pass and a 66-yard pass.
Yeah.
These are, that's you're talking, about 200 yards of offense right there in 4 plays.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what they do. And no one can envision, though, their field goal kicker doinking the upright twice.
That was crazy.
Same
upright. Yeah, it's nuts, but it obviously helped the Red Raiders out last night by those 2 misses. And your field goal kicker and Trey Wolf was as clutch as it got, and his makes her come up huge where it stretches the game out for you and you're able to win.
Yeah, 3 for 3. He hit the makeable ones, but they also I thought the game somewhat changed, or it was just kind of a big momentum shift.
Yeah.
Whenever you're able to hit Shough hits Trey Cleveland for about 40 yards or so, and you give yourself a chance at a 51-yarder, and he just buried it. Nailed it. And I just that creates a situation where you go into the half up 27-21 as opposed to 24-21. But you could just tell every little score and point what was going to be needed is you've had a hard time finishing these games, and you're just and then Choice to carry that forward, because to me that's where the game was kind of in the balance, is that you hit that one play, and then you hit that field goal,
mm-hmm.
and to put yourself up by 6, But then you're thinking, okay, if Kansas comes out and scores here in the first drive of the second half, yeah, okay, this is going to be a bit dicey. And you have Bean throws it right to Rabbit, just right to him.
Got to make that play.
It's not even about making a play; it's just catching the ball, and it's just he just dropped it. And those are like against some better teams, or against those are. And then you continue to live dangerously, because then on the third down, they not that it's anybody's fault on Tech's end of it, but Tyree Wilson gets after the passer and they call roughing the passer, which was it
was as bad of a call watching the replay as the face mask the week before.
Well, as last week, yeah. So I don't know what the officiating crew has against Tyree Wilson, but and you're just so you keep them. It keeps the drive alive when you could have ended it or ended the drive and all that.
So speaking of Tyree Wilson, obviously, just watching the reaction, don't have any official news out on him or anything yet, but just watching the reaction of how he was with his teammates on the sideline, hearing Coach McGuire talk about him in the post-game show, it's obviously not an injury that's going to be a good one. And one, I think you at least expect him out for some time. So,
foot injuries, foot injuries for big people are never good.
Yeah, we see it in basketball a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing one on the basketball side with Fardaws Amac as well, and it's just there's a lot of bones in that foot, and you got to have your wheels, and you're cutting and moving and doing all these different things, and it's how Tyree makes his hay at his position, is getting after people and all that. I don't. This is my opinion, and you're right. You're going off kind of the way Joey talked about it and all that. You won't see him the rest of the season.
I'd be shocked,
including bowl game. I don't think, just because if you listen to what Joey told us in the post game, we're going to X-ray it again, and so you know that they good news there with the first one. And so, but I say you won't see him the rest of the time, just because there's no quick foot injury that doesn't really exist.
No.
And I mean, some of them can be 6 weeks, some of them can be months. It just depends on what happened there. But he knew it. He knew it as soon as he was down. He looked at the locker or the sidelines and kind of was like, "Hey man, I'm done. Like, somebody come help me." And just he was very frustrated. It just is terrible, because he's your best player, period. There's no doubt about it. And I think you're going to have to do this the rest of the way without him. That's my guess. But
up to this week, we've seen him on draft boards anywhere in the first round. Literally anywhere. You see him at top 5 at some points, top 10, back end. He's been a first round guy pretty consistently. So it's a blow. And Choice,
two things that come to mind is it's still shocking to me that Matt Wells was able to get Tyree Wilson to walk on for a semester here.
Isn't that nuts?
That is one of the craziest and best recruiting jobs you'll ever see. People can say whatever they want to about Coach Wells, but they got Tyree Wilson to walk on and pay his own way for a semester until they could put him on scholarship.
It's crazy.
And he's going to end up being one of the best defensive players that really has played for you in the last 20 years. I mean, it's like you just don't have guys like that around here much. But he's going to get drafted still, no matter what happens here or whatever. He's too big and too explosive, and
he's put a lot on film up to this point, though.
Yes,
so
and
helps.
Even if somebody takes a chance, and he, if the injury is worse than it is better or whatever, somebody's going to say, we'll take care of him, or I want to, we'll redshirt him. There's all those things. So, it sucks for Tyree. It sucks for the Red Raiders. It sucks for Tim DeRuyter. It sucks for, his buddies like Jalen Hutchings and Tony Bradford. It just, the whole thing sucks, but that's injuries are part of football. That's just how it goes.
Unfortunately. So looks like we will be without Tyree Wilson, and you got 2 games left on the schedule. previewing, looking ahead towards what we've got this weekend. We got joking about the weather and how cold it was. It was cold on Saturday night in Lubbock. Obviously, the wind has to do with that, all that. But it's going to be a different animal up in Ames, and that has to have some effect on the game, right? I mean, you've been there to Ames several times. You've seen it play out several times where the cold weather has an effect. What do we expect this time around?
Oh yeah,
I think 18 degrees is the projected at the temperature at the 6 o'clock kickoff time.
And you're gonna think that I'm joking, and I don't mean for it to be like a kidding, but I'll likely spend some time up in the booth with you guys.
I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, people can say whatever they want. I'll still attempt to try to get my job done and do some different things, but there's just that Midwest cold this is different because there's so much moisture in the air, and Ames kind of sits in like this river bottom, kind of like it's got a low level of, if you remember years ago, Hilton Coliseum flooded because when it rained, it's just like it's just, so if there's ever fog or if there's ever just weather or these fronts, they just kind of get into Ames and it just sits right there on top of you, just the way that the topography is with that city. But that Midwest cold is just different. But I've never been colder in my life than in Manhattan, Kansas, and Ames, Iowa, from what I've ever experienced. And but Iowa State's not very good. Their defense is, however, that's the interesting thing here, is that their defense is statistically one of the best in the Big 12. They don't have like all conference draft pick types, but their scheme is pain in the rear to play against. It's that same thing that everybody's tried to copy. They're very good against the run, and I would expect this to be a fairly low scoring game. I wonder about, if you would continue to go for it on fourth down as much, or if you play field position as much, because the one thing the analytics don't factor in that you must consider now is the weather and all those things. But Iowa State, their backs are going to be against the wall. They have to win out to go to a bowl game, so they are in a situation to where they must win their next two. And I believe they have the Red Raiders this weekend, and then they go to Fort Worth the following weekend. And so TCU, they won't have anything on the line. You don't think, do you? So
no,
I'm being sarcastic.
I am too. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hunter Deckers, he will throw it to you plenty. That they have a hard time offensively and running the ball and all these things. But again, the weather just is going to change so much. And so, I mean, if you score 17 points, you may win the game. If you score 13 points, you could theoretically win the game. I have no idea it'll just be for the Red Raiders about managing some sort of offense and then just managing the elements.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, good. But so with this Iowa State team, though, most of the time defensively, this Matt Wells scheme, they've had your number for the most part, but last year was one of those where you did put up quite a few points. I know it's a different team, but the scheme hasn't changed. What did Tech finally find some success with last year?
Are you talking about Iowa State's defense?
Yeah, Iowa State's defense specifically.
Okay, John. I think John Heacock is the DC. Is that what you're saying? You're asking
yeah. I mean, this cloud cover defense that's always been there that so many times has given Tech trouble. What finally broke through for Tech last year where you're able to score some points on them?
Well, I think you have to try to get them misaligned a bit. You try to out formation them. You try to get and you've got to break tackles. There are things underneath to be had. What they're gambling on is that they're going to get there and then get you down. And so, because against the Red Raiders, the Jayhawks, I think they missed 22 tackles, which is the most by far all season that Kansas's defense, as far as the missed tackles go. And that's how you end up running for 266 yards. And Tyler Shough gets out of trouble and is able to get some scrambles and move the chains and things like that. So you'll have to break some tackles. And And again, you're just gonna have to be real smart playing smart football up in weather like this when there's just, you don't know how the kicking game will be. It's a natural grass field. They grow that grass up kind of thick, and it's a slower track, if that makes sense. That football is liable to feel like a rock, when you're trying to kick it or punt it. And so, I mean, it will be fascinating to me to see all the things that go into playing football in potentially 8-degree weather.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't think they're calling for any precip. I don't necessarily think there will be too much wind.
Yeah.
But the humidity in the air just changes the dynamic of, like Lubbock cold is far different than Ames, Iowa cold because of the moisture and the humidity in the air. It stings you, it bites you. It's just hard to explain it. And you'll have to try to play a game in it and be tough and not let that affect you mentally.
Yeah.
And still focus on your assignments and all these things. And so, yeah, it should be kind of fascinating to see how they keep balls warm and how they keep, each other warm, and how they keep, to call Donnie Anderson up and see what advice he can offer up, because he actually did play in the Ice Bowl.
So what's one crazy stat for you, Level? Technically, right now, every single Big 12 team could make a bowl game. That's still on the table. Not going to happen. Yeah. But if Iowa State were to beat Tech and TCU, and West Virginia to beat K-State and Oklahoma State, and then Tech beat OU, and then OU beat Oklahoma State, the entire Big 12 would be bowl eligible, it's nuts, but it also speaks to how there is just no bottom to this league. And we continue to see it. And Iowa State's supposed to be one of the worst 2 teams in this league, I guess. I mean,
statistically, but again, their defense, that's a really good side of the ball, man.
So, it's going to be no cakewalk in Ames. Obviously, the line, by the way, for those interested in that kind of thing, Iowa State, a 3-point favorite opening up against the Red Raiders. Okay, so finish up here with a handful of questions as we take from you, the audience, every time around. First one is from D. Wilson. He says, probably too early on this, but how the heck does the quarterback room play out this offseason? Shough wins the next 2, and suddenly everything's in question all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, I really don't know, man. All 3 have the opportunity to come back. It's very hard for me to envision a scenario to where all 3 are back. I think if you're Texas Tech, the most important guy for you long-term is Behren Morton. And so as long as he comes back, you're going to have to figure out the rest.
Yeah.
If Tyler comes back, he's coming back with the idea that he would want to start and be the guy. And I'm not opposed to that. I think that if Behren was okay with that, I think that, and like just kind of sitting one more year, although as we know and watch this play out, you're not going to have to sit. It's just a matter of time before you are needed or called into duty and all these different things. Donovan's kind of the wild card there, because I think he's kind of the one that is the best teammate ever. Everybody loves the kid, coaches, players. He's been a good soldier. He's competed. I think he gives you a bit of a different dynamic. He just has had an issue with turnovers and things like that. Even in the middle of the week, and turnovers are an issue with him in practice and all that. But he's still very young too. I wonder what happens with him, but I don't know. I can envision. I don't think you get all 3 back. That would be extremely rare.
Yeah, it would.
So I don't, and I can't tell you how this is going to play out. I just don't know. I don't.
So the funny that interesting you mentioned Donovan there, because someone did ask the question. Matt asks, is there any chance we could see Donovan switch positions away from quarterback?
I wouldn't rule it out. And he has the skill set to be able to do that. I think that that's going to come down to him and
Mm-hmm.
family and what his dad thinks. If they've envisioned him being QB at all costs, because he could certainly go do that at a variety of other places at a lower level, possibly. And maybe at a Power 5 level. You just don't know what opportunities are out there, depending on what scheme and system somebody wants to run. But if he wants to stay here and wants to play, I think he could absolutely. And in fact, I would love nothing more than to see that, because it would keep him here. It would keep him here, and I know how much everybody thinks of him, and I just think you're a better football team with him on it than not. And so, but I mean, he could play receiver / tight end / do a variety of different things for you. Yes.
A couple of basketball questions real quick before we get out of here, Level. First one is, what is your biggest, or what are you most impressed with through the first couple of games of the season? And what is your biggest concern with this team through the first couple of games of the season?
Well, I've been, I'll take those in like backwards. I guess I'll take the second question first.
Okay.
Just the turnovers. I think specifically, you turn it over 32 times in your first two games, 20 in the first one, 12 in the second one. So it did get better. But like one of your main guards, Pop Isaacs, he's responsible for 9 of the 32, and that's going to be just part of the deal here. So I don't want to say disappointing; it's just a concern.
Okay,
but it's something that you've got to get corrected quickly, because I'm just telling you, you're not going to be able to get away with some of that stuff in Maui. You're not going to be able to come close to getting away with some of the things that you've been able to get away with. When you face Creighton, and then you get into that second game, win or lose, it just doesn't matter. And I just think you've got to do a better job of taking care of the basketball. And some of these are unforced. Some of these are just trying a bit too much, or not making the simple play, or whatever it may be. And that's the part that concerns you or frustrates you, depending on if you're Mark Adams or whatever, the most, because you're not trying to make this flashy play per se. You're just kind of trying to force it or do a little bit extra when you just could make the easy play too. So anyway, there's that. Mm-hmm. As far as what I've been impressed with, I mean, I think some of the players that you have seen play for you have, like, I'll just single out 2 guys. I think Davion Harmon is maybe your most valuable player or most important, just because I think he's been through all this. He knows what this league is like, and I love the way he carries himself. And I would say the same about Kerwin Walton, who went through the ACC race, played in the national championship game. Kerwin's a guy that he's going to be able to hit threes for you, but his ability to move without the ball and do some things that, because you almost just think he's just a 3-and-D guy, or he comes in and he's just going to be able to. But him moving without the ball in the first 2 games, I thought was very impressive to see, and I think that goes a long way. It's and some of these new pieces too. 2 of the guys that I mentioned, there's some of your guys taking charges. Yeah. And that tells me that you've really bought into the culture of this thing, and I appreciate that.
No doubt. This basketball question from Ruby, it says, what is the bottom, I guess the floor and the ceiling for this team record-wise? And who do we play in the Natty?
And this is basketball, yeah. So
this is basketball.
Well, the bottom is, to me, 6th, 7th ish, 8th place, I guess, Big 12 wise, and miss the tournament.
Okay.
I think that's kind of, and it's crazy, because I think that conversation and being like 3rd or 4th and being like kind of tournament bound, that there's not a lot of difference there in the way that some of these results will go in the Big 12 conference. I mean, that could mean the difference between 2 or 3 conference wins one way or the other, and whether you're kind of going dancing or not, because this league is, I'm just telling you, man, we say it every year. It's no different this year. This league's it's going to be a monster again. Sure. Baylor is really good. I think Kansas has a chance to be good. TCU brings everybody back from a team that won a game in the tournament last year. They may have the best, player coming into the season, Mike Miles. Texas is going to be really good with a ton of talent. Shocker. And then you're looking at, it's never easy to go win in Ames. We're sitting here talking about that, or going and win in Stillwater. And there's no postseason ban for Mike Boynton's group at Oklahoma State. As far as the ceiling goes, I mean, yeah, I would say playing in the second weekend of the tournament is certainly doable. But boy, I think you're going to have your big boy back, and you're going to have to get a lot better at some of this stuff and really grow up pretty quickly here.
But this team, you saw shoot pretty well in the first game for sure. Second game was not as good, but you got potential there to shoot the ball better than you have in recent years.
And to me, I agree. And to me, if you're going to be a team that plays in the second weekend of the tournament and has a chance to go further, you're going to have to be a high-level three-pointing shooting team. That just has to be a component there. You're going to have to, be really good at that aspect and be pretty consistent there. And you've got plenty of pieces that can do it. But you're right, that second game,
not as good.
It wasn't there. That looked a lot. That looked a lot like last year. It was the first game. It's like, oh, this is different. So, but I just think when you get to the league or the Big 12 play, you're going to have to bury your fair share night in and night out. Just because that's how you're built. You're smaller, not going to be able to crush people on the boards like you did last year, and away we go.
Level was fun. We should do this on the other side of wins more often. Hopefully on the other side of one in Ames, and some more basketball talk, and Maui, lots to come.
Yeah, I will get off this with you, and I will go long underwear shopping.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
for you and Ames, but enjoyed it. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Choice. Keep hope alive.
Absolutely. That's Chris Level. I'm Choice Woodman. You've been tuned into the Ask Level podcast, brought to you by Double T 97.3. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by Double T 97.3. For more from Lubbock Sports Station, go to doublet973.com.